Yoo-hoo, and thanks for tuning in to another awful movie review.
Huh?
I think it's safe to say that during the early 1980s, in the height of the slasher craze, the law of diminishing returns was in full effect. While you had some definite cult classics, you also had a lot of movies that weren't so lucky to get that label slapped onto them. And then you've got films like Don't Go Into the Woods, which has become a lane of its own, because I can't say it enough, this is unbelievably stupid.
Yeah, and I think we're just getting started.
And I already knew this before reviewing it, because almost 10 years back, I attempted to watch this a first time, but it was so poorly written and badly made that I decided to switch it off barely half an hour in, something which I very rarely do. Well, I just dove into it again, this time until I reached the final credits.
Looks like a good day for it.
But just before we get going, if there's a bad movie you'd like me to review, leave me a comment down below. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe, ring the notification bell, and let me know your thoughts and feelings on Don't Go in the Woods.
And be careful of rabies, too.
This series of diarrhea celluloid does bear its title well. In the mountainous area of the Utah state, whether you're alone or even with friends, the likelihood of you making it out is pretty slim.
Never go in the woods alone.
The story opens with a string of random murders. There's a bird watcher who looks like he just hopped off a 19th century steam train. There's this couple with very questionable fashion tastes who also meet a grisly demise. A young mother who brought her toddler out into the woods to paint. Oh, and what's up with this guy in the wheelchair? What is he doing? And how the heck did he even get up there like that? Between this never-ending charade of fake, thick red blood, which reminded me a lot of the early splatter films of Herschel Gordon Lewis, our four main characters are hikers trying to find the perfect place to camp. But their journey into the wilderness soon turns into a nightmare when they confront what appears to be a crazy, homicidal homeless man running around in the forest. For a total budget of $150,000, I've watched movies released around the same time which had that same amount of money to work with, but were better made. Maybe there was an issue with money management, but the movie looks like shit.
Now look, there's nothing either one of us can do with this thing.
Sometimes I can't tell if the camera is doing POV shots, or if it's the clumsy-ass cameraman not doing his job right. There's a totally unknown cast at play here, and each and every one of them does a terrible job playing numbnuts nobody cares about. What is wrong with these people, seriously? Makes you wonder who the real maniacs are. I can't talk about this crap fest without mentioning the fat-ass sheriff who doesn't seem to care about what's going on in his county. There are reports of missing people, but this guy really isn't in a rush to do his job and find them. He just puts in the minimum effort. We don't know for how long these murders have been taking place, but it's hard to believe the police has been letting this slide for so long now. Only two characters first make it out, Peter and Ingrid. But maybe the sheriff's incompetence is what drove Peter, who barely made it out from the woods, to go back to that hellish situation he just came out from to find his missing friend. And so now that he's back in the wild, nowhere to be found,
come out of there, you jerk!
Dr. Maggie here thought it was a terrific idea to bring the wounded and deeply traumatized Ingrid, who barely escaped death and needs medical care, out of the hospital and back into the forest. Yeah, that'll certainly help. Way to go, Doctor. There's no question about the inspiration of this movie. It tried to cash in on previous films like Friday the 13th and The Burning, both of which are way superior in terms of quality and storytelling.
I wonder if something's happened.
It hasn't.
For instance, we get a very boring and irrelevant campfire story, like we've seen a trillion times before in these flicks.
Oh, I think we've heard enough of that story.
In many of those slashers, there was a lurking mystery around the killer's identity. Most of the time, he was a masked maniac who usually had some sort of vendetta and relationship with the characters and his subsequent victims. But in this film, when the murderer is revealed to us in the first half, not only was I thinking, what the heck?
What's the story on this wild man?
but there's never any backstory as to what drove this guy to murder innocent people, which is why I think he's one of the lamest and laziest ideas for a slasher villain ever in history. Oh, there's also this cringe couple making out in a van, and when the guy goes out to see if someone's lurking outside, she keeps saying his name, Dick, Dick.
It's Dick. Oh, Dick. Dick? Dick? Dick?
What were his parents thinking? And maybe that wouldn't be such a big deal if the story was packed full of tension, but you guys can tell where I'm coming from. There is no tension, nor suspense, nor frights. Between the poorly staged execution scenes, there's a lot of vapid talking and shaky camera work, following the characters as they run for their lives back and forth in the woods, and a cheap and sometimes awkward sounding synthesizer score. Overall, of the big plethora of cheap slasher movies to come out during that period, Don't Go in the Woods is one of the most nonsensical and stupidest to come. Even for the subgenre standards, which can dive very low sometimes, this movie is stupendously bad. Don't go into this movie alone. No. You know what? Just don't go into this one at all. What an awful movie.